being able to carry out their careers without being pestered in the local coffee shop by the fringe people that the music sometimes attracts. Obscurity isn't necessarily a philosophical belief, but just something that they enjoy perpetuating, and just giving the public something new and different to get a hold of.
Okay, but doesn't the idea of a tour run sort of counter to the theory of obscurity in a way?
Well, in a way it does, but this is a chance to open the public's eyes and get more people aware of what the band's doing, and give a lot more people a chance to be exposed to the band. Further, for 13 years they've been getting letters just begging them to tour, and it's just kind of give the public what they want in a way. Not something that's always on their minds, of course, but something that they wanted to do after the loyal following they've had for 13 years.
Is there a great difference between the way the residents make music in the studio? Since, I mean, anybody who knows their records knows that they're masters of the electronic recording medium and stuff. Is there a difference between that and translating that to the live stage?
Well, both recording and live production has never really been elaborated on at length, just because of the band's feelings about their trade secrets, I guess. But a large amount of it is reproduced electronically through computer-controlled keyboards, and of course, a lot of manipulation goes on in the studio, and we have some of that on tour as well, like some of the vocal manipulations are carried out through the show. So it's kind of, you know, this and that for as far as the studio and live production go.
Do you use a lot of...
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
...work they appreciate and like?
Well, again, it's just something that they're very they're prone to whims, and a lot of their influences change daily, and one minute they'll say they're influenced by one band and then the next another, so I can't really say for sure exactly what influenced the band early on, but you know, they, again, as I said, had positive and negative influences from the music.
Okay. Is there anybody out there now making music who the band likes or enjoys? Or
well, the band usually doesn't listen to music, to tell you the truth. They make their own, and that's about as far as it goes.
Okay. And now, could you explain the theory of obscurity and, you know, why the band has felt it necessary to guard their identity so very closely?
Sure. Obscurity isn't really a live and die philosophy that they have. It's more of something that is along the lines of what they're trying to present to the public. They didn't have long-range plans to hide their identity from the onset. It was more of something that came about. They wanted their music to stand on their own without you know, faces and names to go along with it to influence that. Whether or not they were part of a previous band really doesn't matter, you know, and they wanted the music to stand on their own. Obscurity is just something, is kind of a convenient moniker that they've acquired for their music, because it's just literally indescribable, and it's just something that they've, you know, lived with ever since their inception.
Okay. Now, obviously, coming out of that, one assumes that that's the theory of obscurity is probably why the band never toured until now. So what made the band decide to tour now?
Not necessarily the theory of obscurity. Again, that's not just something that they live and die by. It's more like they didn't really want to be part of the rock and roll world, and they didn't want to go and tour on the road and play every city on a rock and roll bus and something. They were more of a studio band early on, and manipulating sounds in the studio and things like that. Just sort of decided that it was time to expose the public to live appearances of their music.
Okay. Could you just repeat what you said before about starting off the reason we're touring now? Because you mentioned all the letters that they've got. You sort of just, you know, in other words,
yeah, exactly.
Tour now.
Another reason that they decided to tour is more like giving a chance for the public to see them. They've gotten countless letters over their 13-year history of people wanting to see the band live. The whole mystique involved was just something very charming, and the ability to see the band live was something that the public always really wanted to have open to them. So that was one of the influences. Not a major one. They don't really do. Another thing is that they wanted to see the world and see the sights that are offered to a person touring or a band touring.
Okay. Is there any major difference between how the residents operate in the studio and how they operate on the stage? Since they are known as master manipulators in the studio, you know, how do you accept the challenge of translating that to a live?
Yeah, it's something that certainly has to be considered in each live production, but the techniques used in the studio and live are really undivulged. They certainly manipulate electronically the music in the studio, and some of that is carried out in the live performance. Manipulations on the vocals, and a lot of the stuff is done through computer-controlled keyboards, the emulators. And so there's no real major differences between live and studio work, except for obviously you're not at a 16-channel board able to do overdubs and so forth. It's all live. There are no tapes used, and that's pretty much the only difference.
That's amazing. Okay. Now, I want to talk about music video since we are MTV and you are the residents. I mean, anybody who knows your work knows that going back to Violence Fats and the Third Reich and Roll video, you guys were absolute pioneers of really first-class music video, musical film, whatever you want to term that
Sure.
synergy. What first attracted the residents to the concept of music video so far ahead of other people?
Well, Violence Fats was a feature film that they wanted to complete early on. It was begun in their very early years, and one of the features they thought we were most endeared by, the naivety of the project, eventually sadly became its downfall. 1 minute of that film was used in their first clip, self-directed by the band, Third Reich and Roll, about 1 minute, and it was just something that was totally off the wall and something that was a visual, it was trying to match a visual entity with the sound, you know, and something that it's not, they don't see video as a representation. They have very, strict views about video, and they don't see it as, let's write a song and then make a video of it, or let's write a song that could later become a video, and it was just something that was very different and very unusual, kind of the video aspect of the residents. Mm-hmm. Very different and pioneering.
Sitting here in front of people in these kind of outfits, I mean, obviously they're very visually inclined. And
absolutely.
An astounding gift for imagery and stuff.
The show also is very, very, very visually stimulating.
Mm-hmm. Where does the band get their imagery from, if there is any such place or any particular inspiration? I mean, how do they come up with these amazing costumes and stage sets?
That's like asking why your mother named you Michael. It's just something that sort of comes from inside, and for instance, the imagery of the eyeballs was merely designed for the album of Eskimo, the album cover of Eskimo, and it sort of was such a big hit that they sort of inherited that image as to be their own personalities. So it's not something that's immensely long-range planned or something like that. It's merely, as it comes up, as the inspiration hits them, it's thought about and possibly used.
Okay. You mentioned a few seconds ago that they have very strict views about music video and imagery in general. Can you go into a few more what those views might be?
The residents don't actually like video. They like making video. It's a creative process, a creative outlet for their energy. They have a few guidelines that they asked me to mention, anticipating a question about video for MTV. Some of them are, spend a lot of money. It's necessary to spend a lot of money to make a good video. Anyone currently involved in rock video should be excluded from the project entirely, bringing a sense of freshness and imagination to the project. No lip syncing. Lip syncing is possibly one of the most unimaginative things that could possibly be in a music video. Don't bother putting the musicians in the video. Live footage, for instance, is just, why watch it? Why don't you go see them and things like that. And lastly, and possibly most importantly, stop picking on Fellini.
Thank you. Okay. And doing you well, too, I might add. Okay. So I'm assuming from that they don't watch any music videos, or
no.
Do they, and they've had enough and stopped watching?
Exactly. They just enjoy making it. It's a creative outlet, and it's a way to present yet another form of innovation to the public.
Does the band even watch its own videos?
Oh, obviously, they see it every now and then, and we carry them around with us on tour and present it to the public. They don't sit down every day and watch it before dinner or anything.
Would be hard to eat after something.
Oh, maybe some do.
Okay. Are there any clues yet on what happened to Mr. Red Eye? And in fact, maybe you better explain the whole Red Eye scenario.
A sad thing that I guess we should explain. During the Los Angeles performance of this tour at the Hollywood Palace, sadly but true, one of the eyeballs was stolen. A heinous fiend broke into the dressing room and stole one of the eyeballs. So as you can see, one of the residents has suffered a horrible violation of identity, and we all, as well as our public, are in mourning. As you see, we have a memorial armband depicting the start and finish of the lost eyeball, and that's something that we wear in performance and offer, as a sense of tribute for the lost eyeball to the public.
Okay, now I understand also that since the missing eyeball, christened Mr. Red Eye, has been stolen, that the band has placed a curse upon the missing eyeball.
Actually, that was thought of. But we decided in the end not to put a curse on the eyeball, simply because to stoop as low as to steal one of the cult icon's figures, the residents' figures, we didn't want to descend to that level and put a harmful curse on the people that stole it. We just are simply denying that the people ever existed and ignoring them from the face of the earth.
Good. Okay, great. Now, about the American Composer Series, now, of course, we're familiar with the George and James album, which is wonderful, and in fact, MTV actually played the It's a Man's Man's World video a bit, although, again, not enough to satisfy us residence freaks up there, but hey, you take what you can get. But we're just wondering, what can we expect in the future from the continuation of the American Composer Series?
Well,
next?
The American Composer Series is designed to have 20 artists represented in the residence versions and tributes and homage to their original forms. As you said, the first installment was George and James, George Gershwin and James Brown, and the next installment, tentatively planned for the fall of '86, is John Philip Sousa and Hank Williams. And from that moment on, no definite decisions have been made. Few artists have been talked about. Again, not something that the residents usually divulge that far ahead of time. But it's designed to highlight 20 composers, and then upon its completion, it will be hopefully offered as a box set, a complete set with all the composers as the American Composer Series.
Okay, is it fair to assume from the people who are featured in this series that the residents like or admire their music?
Oh, absolutely.
Them influences?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just sort of restate that.
Members or artists that are represented in the American Composer Series are definite influences on the residents in one way or another, and the residents definitely have a fond liking of all the artists they represent. They wouldn't cover a song if it didn't have some kind of merit in their minds. So.
Okay. Are there any other records or maybe home video packages forthcoming from the band that we should be on the lookout for?
Well, there are certain projects in the works. We are carrying with us a demo that we are currently working on, which is highlighting some new computer graphics techniques on colorization of old films, old footage. And we have Earth vs. Flying Saucers, which is a sci-fi B-movie that has been colorized and an original soundtrack has been put to it. And we're currently having that shown around to a few people here and there. As far as the albums go, the only other thing that's even remotely being talked about is the Part 3 of the Mole Trilogy, possibly slated for the fall of '87. We have a live album has just been released in Japan of this tour, and there's also been a few compilations in Europe and Japan highlighting their old material, and at last, an alternative CD really worth mentioning has been released, and that is the Heaven and Hell double disc of the residents. One disc Heaven, which is semi-heavenish songs, and then another disc Hell, some of the songs that the residents, more moody songs that are released. That's a double disc set that's now available.
Is that all new material? Or?
Well, it's all old material, same versions. It's sort of a compilation available for sound and so forth.
Right. Okay, now...
Excuse me, we have to change tapes.
Change tapes, okay, just ready to go? Yeah. Okay, I'd like you to tell me, start off by saying how the tour's been going, and then if the tour's been going well, then will the band ever tour again?
Well, the tour began in Japan. We had 4 shows in Japan of this tour, and they all went fabulously. The Japanese people are just great, one of the band's favorite countries, wouldn't you say, guys? And from there, we took North America and began in December 26th in Los Angeles. Actually, there were 3 shows in San Francisco on the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then we've gone across the southern states, beginning in Atlanta, up the East Coast, into Canada, across the northern United States, then into the Midwest, down into Texas. And we finish in Texas. And plans for a future tour are speculative at best. There's a possibility that we'll take the tour to Europe. You want me to go over that again?
Richard, you think we should?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, if you could, please.
All right.
Sorry.
No problem. The tour began in Japan. We went to Japan before Christmas, and the Japanese people were just...
Saw on tour that really impressed them, or they have any impressions of America after driving around the country now?
Yeah, well, it's nice to go back to the roots in the South. We had a great time having some wonderful times in the South there. And as I said, Japan was just wonderful. Everyone really enjoyed that country.
Good, okay. Now, a more topical, sort of immediate, issue-oriented question. Do the residents have any feelings on the controversy that's been raging recently about record ratings coming out of Washington, D.C.?
Actually, the band is really steamed that we have to think about that again. Just something that isn't even worth mentioning. It's just a farce, and we think that perhaps the public should be rated, not the records.
Okay. One last question. Now, I don't want to, break through the closely guarded identities here, but someone who was at the show last night told me that it looked like there was a woman on stage with the band at certain points, and one of the people here looks to be possibly a woman, and I've always assumed, and most people I know have always assumed that the residents are all guys. Can we decide on the gender of any of the residents?
Last time I checked, I was male, but as far as the gender of these residents, that's completely undisclosed, and it's been theorized on occasion that there have been women included in the band, and actually we really don't know if these are the band members sitting here with me. It's just something that is really undisclosed. The information available to my fingertips is vague at best.
Okay, I think that's it. Oh, can we go into the stage? Could you maybe describe?
Sure.
In case people don't get to see the show, which is unfortunate, could you give them a clue what they're missing?
This show is a very intimate show. The Mole show is a big theatrical production that unfortunately never made it to the States, and this show is kind of a brilliantly conceived, scaled-down version of a visually stimulating and orally stimulating sound that conveys the residents' music. There are dancers. The show is choreographed. There is handheld lighting is the main lighting technique. Very interesting industrial work lights being used here and there. It's dimly lit overhead. And there are inflatable props that are manipulated throughout, and a few costume changes. It's a long show, 2 hours, with intermission of newly recorded music for that purpose. And so there are 2 separate sets, and the show ranges from their very early releases to the new album, The Big Bubble. So it's really all-encompassing, and it's quite enjoyable.
Great. Do you have any favorites of your own material? I mean, I know you're covering a broad range of the residents' career. Is there any particular favorites?
Asking the residents what their favorite song is like asking a mother who her favorite child is. It's something that, again, changes from day to day, if there's ever even a favorite song. Like, if you put on a record and listen to it, you'll like that record, but then months later you'll be tired of it. So they like all their music, and they like none of their music. So, it's just something that one can't pinpoint.
Okay, I take it there's also no specific album or record that they're most proud of having accomplished, or anything they feel equally about all of them?
Not to my knowledge. They've never made that clear to me. Any guys? What do you think? I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Okay. No, but before you get up, so we just get some cutaways, like one of the mask.
Oh, he said he didn't want to do it. Oh, I should leave? Yeah. No? Snakefinger? He said he didn't want to come in. Just make him come over here. Snake? Yes. Why don't we do some stills just because you're in the show? Yeah, come on. Think I should leave?
And, can you, before when we were talking about it, you were like patting his head like, poor guy.
Why don't you come around behind, Phil?
Yeah. And I'll match.
Sort of stand over my shoulder. And how about some melancholy shots about the loss of the eyeball?
My armband straight.
The armband.
Looks wonderful. Come up closer, come on.
All right.
Get on TV.
He'll be really mad with me when he gets it off.
Oh, see the dip. Can you just turn it a little bit more?
This one?
Yeah, that one.
Turn it to...
To your right. No, to your left, I'm sorry. Or you just turn your arm. So I can only see the 1985. There. Yeah. Okay.
Nice family shot. Okay.
What's a woman going to do but throw away her bread? Her feet are feeling funny as she lies beneath the bed. She reminisces of the pungent Adriatic Sea, and then she crawls and counts her cans and twitches like a flea. What she really likes to do is sit up on a pew and make believe that time has stopped and motionless as new. Planes are stranded in the sky, trains are stopping too. She alone is laughing under eyelids full of blue.
Okay, we gotta fix the guitar. Anytime.
What's a woman going to do but throw away her bread? Her feet are feeling funny as she lies beneath the bed. She reminisces of the pungent Adriatic Sea, and she crawls and counts her cans and twitches like a flea. What she really likes to do is sit up on a pew and make believe that time has stopped and motionless as new. Planes are stranded in the sky and trains are stopping too. She alone is laughing under eyelids full of blue. She hurries, scurries, worries that the wicked will receive the candy from a handsome man and coffee from a thief. She gazes at an hourglass and asks it if it cares, and then she wonders if the lizard likes his lettuce rare. But it seems to stay alive inside your mind. And pray when you leave it there. We've got a different setup. Yeah, we need skeletons for this. It'll take us about 5 minutes. Afterwards, it's like a dream. You don't remember, but it seems to stay alive inside your mind.